Tommy Rex, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
Incarceration, America's rock, metal, and tattoo festival returns this summer with Limp Bizkit, Disturbed, Bad Omens, plus Gojira, Papa Roach, A Day to Remember, Motionless in White, Ice Nine Kills, Cypress Hill, The Used, and so many more. Incarceration at the Ohio State Reformatory, July 17th to 19th. Passes on sale now at incarceration.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And you know what happens when a couple veterans get together? We start talking a lot of shit to each other before we even hit record. So then I was like, whoa, all right, let's save some of that and get this party started. So looking forward to sharing CJ Cowgill's story with you. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, brother. Good. Glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak a little bit about myself and a little bit about what I'm doing in the veteran community today.
Awesome. Yeah, of course, man. I love getting the word out. It's like kind of like what we were talking about before we went on. It's like some people don't know about, like, especially like veterans aren't aware of a lot of things that are out there to help them. Not just through the federal government, but a lot of us veterans had to take things into our own hands and start, organizations that for, where the VA is lacking and stuff. And we'll get into all that, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So usually when I have somebody on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So do you remember originally what you wanted to be when you grew up?
G.I. Joe. I wanted to be in the military. Come from a family of military. Looking at the picture of my dad sitting on top of a tank in the mid 70s and seeing my grandfather's pictures throughout their eras, World War II, Korea and Vietnam era veterans in my family, I was called at a very early age.
All right. And then, so it kind of answers my next question, but like at an early age, you were called. When was it that, what kind of guided you towards choosing the Army? Was that also a lot of family members had done that previously?
So I got a great story. So the first time I tried to enlist was right out of high school, and Army accepted me, had me ready to go. I told my recruiter, dude, I smoked a lot of weed. Like, I shouldn't go to MEPS yet. And he pushed me to, you're going to be fine. You're skinny. I failed my drug test. I had to wait a little while to go back. When I went back, because I had failed a drug test and did not complete high school, the Army at that point didn't want me. And I wanted to be Army because that's what Dad did. So I was over in the Naval Recruiting Office while my dad was getting a hold of regional command for recruiting and getting me a waiver to join the United States Army. So it wasn't really, that's what I wanted. The Corps wouldn't take me because I was a dropout. The Navy was gonna, but I really didn't want to be stuck on a boat. And I'm not chair force material. I don't have the know-how up here. So
Yeah. It's funny too. You said, the Navy would have took you. I mean, I got kind of a similar story where I was originally supposed to go into the Marines because that was what my dad was. And then I got in some trouble, and the recruiter was like, you ain't joining my Marine Corps, and luckily I just had to get on the phone with, the Navy lieutenant or something, say, I promise I won't do it again. All right, slap on the wrist, sign you up. We like people that like to get drunk and cause mischief. Come on in.
That's right.
And then what area did you grow up at?
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, far northwest suburbs.
Okay. And then, so you wouldn't have had to go too far if you would have went into the Navy. But,
right to Great Lakes is where I would have went. Instead, I wound up down in Fort Benning, Georgia.
And what was like the culture shock, or what was like the, some of the oddest things that you experienced going into Army boot camp?
How many people didn't really want to be there? I was there and I knew what I was getting into. It was easier than I thought as far as them being on your case, because I was told how it was in the 70s, but I wanted to be there. And people ask, Joseph, why are you here, Private? I'm here for college. I'm here because I got in trouble and I didn't have another choice. I'm like, I'm here for a career. All the people that didn't want to be in the service the whole time I was there, who didn't, they seemed so unmotivated. I'm like, why would you sign the dotted line if you didn't want to really do this? This is a commitment. You're signing up for a multi-year agreement here. And you're going off for the next 9 weeks to boot camp. It just, that really shocked me the most.
Yeah, exactly. I remember too, like just people that weren't like, it's more of a mental game. It's like, yeah, your body's going to go through a lot of stuff, but if your mind don't push that body through, and that, hey, this is temporary. These guys getting in my face. But so many people, man, I couldn't believe, like, just were unprepared and didn't know how to get yelled at. And I mean, this was back, quite a few years when boot camp was still like boot camp. I can't imagine what it's been like past, 5 or 10 years,
Yeah, I was 2000 is what I went through. So originally it was supposed to be 98. And like I said, I had a hiccup and waited a couple of years. But even in 2000, it was significantly different than it was easier than what I expected. Yeah, they get in your face and yell at you. But the people that weren't prepared for it, that like were just so overwhelmed by like, it was a bit intense that first night getting off the bus in the dark in Georgia at like 2 a.m. And they sharked you, and you're like,
yeah.
Hurry up. You're like, God damn it, I'm going as quick as I can. And you're not going quick enough. You have to realize that you're not going to go quick enough. You're not going to go quick enough for about 6 weeks. Then you're going to almost go quick enough and you'll be good at the end.
Yeah, exactly. And then during your time in, where was, would you say was the, your worst place that you served at?
So my time was short, unfortunately. I only got to do a 3-year tour, basically. I spent a year in Korea and loved every minute, stayed in country for leave for 30 days. And that happened to coincide with 9/11 happening. So that kind of cut my leave short. But then from there, I went to Fort Campbell and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed AIT at Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland. I guess you enjoy boot camp. Georgia was real nice from the inside of Fort Benning. All I saw was the woods, basically. So I can't really speak on nightlife there. But everywhere I went, I really made the best of traveling. It wasn't an issue for me. I enjoyed it.
And then what is something you feel like you always take with you from your time of service?
Being on time. I was in your lobby 15 minutes early.
Nice. I knew I could count on the veterans usually are in here early, and I've been impressed once in a while when I jump on like 5 minutes before the interview and there's already a musician waiting in here. I'm like, whoa, usually it's like 5 minutes after the time,
Yeah, they're always late, man.
Yeah. And then what's one of the funniest stories you feel you can share from your time in?
Funny stories. New Year's Eve, was it 2002 to 2003? We're out in Nashville at Mulligan's Irish Pub, and that's where we like to go. My good buddy Eric, nicknamed Seamus, is the Irish boy. We go out there and they play, traditional Irish folk music all night. So I'm out and I meet this gal early in the night, and I whip out an Irish accent. And I'm playing this Irish accent all night, and I'm talking to this young little lassie all night long with an Irish accent, having a grand old time. And I get pretty lit. And I don't know, it must have been like 10:30 at night or so. I go up to the bar. She's right next to me, and I look at the bartender. I'm like, "Hey, Brian, give me 2 more Guinnesses." She looks at me. Oh, shit, I just forgot the accent. Well, I didn't. We didn't talk after that. That was the end of the night. So that's a good, fun G-rated story. The shit you try to pull off when you're in the Army, traveling the world. They're never going to see me again. They won't know I'm Irish tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And then what is one of your greatest hopes you have for the country you've been willing to give your life for?
I'm going to say right now at current state, I wish people would stop identifying so strongly with political parties and start identifying with the fact that we're all red, white, and blue. And regardless of what side you take, that's fine. We're all Americans and we all have to work together. And it's not going to come together. And it's very, very clear to me that, especially as a veteran, they don't give two shakes of a lamb's tail about any one of us. The only way we're ever going to move the needle in the direction that betters the American people is working together. So that would be my hope. That's what the military taught all of us.
Oh, yeah.
They took you from Ohio, this kid from California, this kid from Texas, this kid from New York, a Jew, a Muslim, a Christian, anarchist, somebody that got straight A's, somebody that was a jock, somebody that was a burner. They put us all together and we operated at the highest level. And even today, I don't agree with all the things that happen in the world, but when our military goes out, we operate at the highest level. People from all over the country, all different beliefs, all different colors, creeds, mottos. It doesn't matter. They're red, white, and blue. And that's what we need in this country. That is what will truly bring America back to, if we ever were great, a true greatness. If we just have to be a community and love one another. You don't have to be best friends, but just go with love in your heart, people, for Pete's sakes. Life is so short. And as veterans, we see that. How many veterans are we losing a day? 22 is not the real number. It's closer to 41. I've lost more people back home than we lost in combat out of my first, group of people that were the first deployment. And the people who stayed in longer, imagine how many people they've seen. It's not worth arguing over. Life is precious.
Amen. Amen, man. And then speaking of losing people, what do you feel we can do to break the stigma of mental health and PTSD?
Talk about it. Let's be man and woman enough to just have these conversations. And that's really, as we get into things, that's the goal of what we're doing with Green Healing, is connecting all these different resources and networks, because everybody knows somebody different, but the more you can connect them, the better it is. And what we really need is community and conversation. And we need to integrate healthier mindsets. And that starts with addressing the elephant in the room of PTSD. We're a culture of warriors when we're veterans. If we look at the indigenous cultures of warriors, they don't have a word for PTSD anywhere else in the world where there's warring tribes. Not in history. Why? Community. They cared for one another when they came back. There was some alternative integration of medicines too, but really what it comes down to is having those conversations, being there for one another. I didn't go to war, never went to the sandbox, but everybody who I talk to, they talk about when they go out and make your little rounds or your patrols or whatever, and you come back after some fucked up shit. What do? You bond with one another. You sit around. And when we come home as veterans in particular, we isolate ourselves. We're not around people we feel comfortable with. We need to find a way to build those communities back for us to come back and bond with one another. And when we do that, we'll heal.
Yeah. Yeah. I've experienced that myself. So I agree. Now, before we get into, Green Healing, you said you had kind of a fucked up story. Let's talk about how your career ended up.
So in fucking basic, I noticed I thought it was like a pimple or something on my head. Didn't say nothing. I'm not going to sick call. Go through AIT. We did our field training in AIT. This thing swells up. I get to Korea. First week in Korea, after I get to duty, like assigned, we're going out to the field for 30 days. Iron X valve, 30 days in the field. Wearing that cake pot the whole damn time. Get out. I got a fucking golf ball growing in the back of my head. Go to sick call. Operation number 1. They cut it open. It was a cyst. Operation number 1, they broke the cyst wall. And what happens then is infected shit gets all spread out in there. The skin's real tight. It's at a small level. I went through 6 surgeries at Camp Casey at the little clinic. Surgery number 6 was a Saturday morning, and they cut the back of my head open. I don't know how well y'all see that, but they cut all this out. And then they couldn't stitch it up. They're panicking. They're trying to cauterize my head. I'm in a little ass room, blood squirting on the wall, and they're not able to close me up. They called the pilots, fire up the chopper. We got to get this guy down to Seoul, down to 121. They get me on an IV, give me some morphine, pack my wound on my head, get me ready for shipment. It was like Vietnam, the Vietnam movies where you're like flying in a helicopter. That's how it felt for me. I was like, I forget what song's always on when there's like a door gunner.
Fortunate Son or some Creedence Clearwater.
Yeah, dude.
Or something.
Yeah. And I'm just looking out the window, high as fuck on morphine, going down to the hospital, and I'm thinking nothing of it. I get down there and they get me in the room, and this cat's like, "You want to see the back of your head?" I'm like, "Yeah." They go get me 2 mirrors and do one of these numbers. It looks like a manila envelope that's been stuffed too full of shit, like just a. But I just see my scalp and like blood vessels and shit. And I'm like, oh, they had to call in a civilian surgeon to do a corrective surgery. Basically, they facelifted me. They had to cut all the skin loose around my head to pull it up and close it. That was surgery number 6. Surgery number 7 was a scar tissue revision. Went back in because the scar was so wide and long, they wanted to slim it down. Before that happened, as I was going under with the anesthesia, the fucking light, pardon my language, falls out of the ceiling at the hospital. I'm not kidding. Like those big lights, like, hits the nurse in the shoulder, dislocates their shoulder, hits me in the face. I go to sleep because the anesthesia is kicking in. I wake up. I'm like, man, I got a fucking black eye, a scrape across my face. I'd have been $1 million lawsuit in any other fucking medical institution. You ain't getting shit. You're part of the United States Army. You're government property. Have a good day. They stitched me up, sent me home. At that point, the doctor who did the first 6 surgeries was just absolutely apologetic. I'm sorry, this, that, and the other. You're going to get sent home now. You're going to get taken care of. We fucked you up. You're going to go to a Fort Sam. You're going to get med boarded. And I didn't want that. I wanted a fucking career. I asked them if they would let me go without a cake pot until I got better. I'm like, I'll sign a waiver if I catch one in the noggin. That's the way God wanted it. I don't know. Like Green Berets are wearing these lightweight hockey looking helmets. Give me one of them. No. You're done, son. You're going to go home. So they sent me from Korea. That was all in Korea. They sent me back to Fort Campbell. It took 18 months to out process. In the middle of that 18 months, we sent our troops to Iraq. So I helped do the rail load, helped get everybody in. I was on CQ duty the night our unit got our orders. So I went to battalion headquarters and picked them up. And I had to see all these, I say kids, I was a couple years older. I didn't join until I was 20. Some of the young men and women that went were younger than me. And they didn't want, like I said, they didn't want to be there. There was people that didn't want to be there. I wanted to go. There was a young man who was a friend of mine named Dan who he had a baby coming. He had to go to Iraq before his baby was born. What if he didn't come back? Those are all things to plan for. I'll go in his stead. I don't let him stay home. I want to go. I didn't get to go. And it really, really fucked with me. And I didn't really learn how to deal with that trauma, as silly as it is. That's my trauma. And 7 years ago, when I found another nonprofit called Balanced Veterans Network, and I started helping veterans heal, I found my calling, and I realized that I didn't go to war because I needed to come home and go through the experiences I had here to help my brothers and sisters when they came back. That's my story. And they didn't rate me very high. They put me out the door, and I've had to, like all of us, fight for your rating. If you didn't go to war, anything that happened to you, I'm saying this to all the veterans out there, go get your slice of pie. When we sign our name on the dotted line, a little piece of pie gets put away for you.
Yeah.
And then bureaucrats hope and pray every day that we die before we get it or we don't go after it. Because then it's theirs. It's there for you. There's a pool of money there for you. Go dip in it. You're not taking it from another veteran. That's your money. That's your benefits. And we shouldn't have to fight so damn hard for any of it.
I had thankfully, my chief in my unit was a veteran service officer. Yeah, we were in the reserves when I got called to my last deployment. And, he told me, it's like, man, I don't care if you stub your toe over there, document it and bring it home to me. And I was just like, man, I don't know. I don't feel like you know, if somebody gets messed up because they're in combat, that's their money. And he told me, he's like, no, listen, he's like, every year Congress writes a bill, and the VA gets this percentage, and if people don't claim it and they see it sitting there, then the next year they give less and put whatever was extra somewhere else where it's not needed, you know. He's like, when you claim it, you're helping the other veteran actually by, you know,
look at look at what they spend on a missile. Go get your money, guys and girls. Go get your money. Fight for it. Fight for every penny. We shouldn't have to. You signed your name on the dotted line and you did your term of service honorably. You shouldn't have to worry about health care. You should have a permanent pension. These things should be taken care of. It should be the way it is, because the people who don't have to work a day in their life, their kids ain't going. They're set. They prey on the people who need opportunities. They go to the small towns. They go to the underprivileged kids. They come to the farm communities that aren't farming anymore, where the factories closed. They get us and they take us and they tell us, oh, you're going to be taken care of the rest of your life. Not unless you fight for it. So why is it so hard? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed. Now, so like I forget, what was the name of that place that you went to where they told you that, you know, your journey was the way it was so you could help other veterans?
That was just a revelation I had myself, that through cognitive behavioral therapy mostly, and then integrating psychedelics into my life and really doing some deep thinking with the assistance of psilocybin to figure out why I felt so broken in this world.
So when you before Green Healing started, though, didn't you go through some other organization originally that kind of was helping you?
Yeah. So initially I want to say it's like 2017 or 2018, I found a group called Balanced Veterans Network. At the time they were Operation 1620, and those two organizations merged into one, Balanced Veterans and Operation 1620. And Operation 1620, I was a grow mentor. I was teaching veterans how to grow their own cannabis and then integrate this medicine into their lives. A lot of people, it's the devil. You know, you joined the service when you're 18, you didn't touch that shit, you just drank your whole life and changed your socks, drank water, had beers on the weekend, created a ruckus, and weed is the devil.
Yeah.
Well, I experienced weed in a different way. I experienced it pre-service, and it touched me, and so did some other medicines, some psychedelics and stuff. I was a wild child. But when I got out, I was still a wild child, and it didn't really dawn on me till about 2012, when I was having some really bad back problems, and I was out in Oregon visiting family, and a doctor's like, you should use cannabis medicinally. I'm like, I smoke weed all the time. There's a difference. Cannabis is great. It's a fun drug. It is, or whatever you want to call it. Just like having a beer. You go out, you have it, you can have a good time. It can be misused, and it can be used as medicine. There's a lot to that, and that's part of what we do with, and why I continue to work with veterans, is to teach them the mindfulness of it, teach them how to grow their own. There's therapy in producing your own medicine and identifying the medicine that works for you, because every body is different. And these things generally work, but you have to dial in alternative therapies on what works for you. So helping veterans on that mission was kind of what I felt my calling was, because I was kind of a weed nerd. I learned all about it and learned how to grow it and learned all about these different strains and effects and terpenes. And I knew all that stuff before it was cool. So now as a veteran, I'm able to come to a brother or sister and be like, hey, you know, we're not just dumb stoners. Most of the people who I went to high school with and smoked weed and continued, they own their own businesses. They're actually very successful people, because cannabis made them be successful. If they wanted to choose that as their medicine or to partake in it, they had to find a way to be successful with themselves. And it doesn't hold you back unless you let it, just like anything. It's a tool, and if used right, it can really unlock a lot of healing. So that was kind of where I found my calling. And then after, several years working with them as a volunteer, myself, a few of the other veterans I met along the way decided we kind of wanted to do something a little bit different. And we went from, that were a 501c3, we wanted to file a 501c19. And that's what Operation Green Healing is. And what's a 501c19, everybody asks? It's the same designation that your VFW, your American Legion, or your Disabled American Veterans Post has. It is a veteran service organization designed to, for, and by veterans to help veterans. The difference we have at Green Healing is we want to empower veterans to heal one another. While we're out doing our community events and all these other things, we want to empower the veterans who feel called to help one another, to get trained in peer support, psychedelic integration coaching, mental health first aid, VA SAVE training, and harm reduction when it comes to substances. And the reason that we've discussed and wanted this is because a lot of the integration therapies you'll see, or peer support programs in particular, peer support is very abstain from anything other than the strict line of pharmaceuticals. And we're seeing that the strict line of pharmaceuticals doesn't work for everybody. Alternative therapies, we need to educate and give people the option. Hey, look, this is what you can use to try to alleviate some of these other things. So that's really the goal, is we are training our veterans who are members of our group who feel called in this way. So when we have our community events and you're sitting there, like I said earlier, community and talking, what happens when we bump into somebody who's having an experience where they need help? They're not going to call a therapist usually right away. They're more comfortable talking to us. So if we can train ourselves in a way to mitigate that and guide them hopefully into a safer space mentally and calm them down, and then make sure they get referred back out and they're following up with professional services, because we are only veterans ourselves. But in that minute, we can be that person that is there for somebody else when they are at their lowest, and be able to bring them up to a point where they are at least treading water. Because, you Navy guys or anybody that's, swim certified or lifesaver certified, once your head goes under and you gulp once, it's a real short trip to the end. If you can keep treading that water, though, we can be a little bit of buoyancy for another veteran and get them through. That's the goal. We do have some long-term goals with trying to find professional therapists who will volunteer time. So when we do find somebody in an emergency case, we can refer them there, because you know how it is. You call the VA, oh, it's an emergency. They want to go inpatient often. And I've seen that more veterans are scared to go to the VA and talk about their mental health because they don't want to be inpatiented. They're scared. Who's going to take care of their dog, their service animal. They got to go to work and take care of their kids, because even though they're all fucked up, they ain't got a pension yet. And even if they do have a full pension, it's barely enough to cover the cost of their rent or their mortgage and feed their children.
Yeah.
What do we do for these people? I mean, we're being failed. If we weren't failed, I mean, not just veterans, the whole country is being failed in the healthcare system. If we weren't being failed, we wouldn't lose so many people. There wouldn't be a suicide rate as high as it was. Was it 18 veterans in the last 4 or 5 years took their own lives at VA facilities?
Yeah.
50% of veterans won't step foot on a VA healthcare center. That's the best we got.
The majority of the homeless population are veterans.
Because they're too proud to ask for help. They're those people that are out there. There's a whole list of veterans who probably are deserving of benefits. And I don't want to take that. It's somebody else's. I didn't go. Don't matter if you didn't go. You went through something that nobody else did. Especially as pre-2000, the hazings and the stuff. There's a lot. You wind up, your plate got filled if you did a couple years of service. I don't care what they say. Even the Air Force guys who we all joke about and say it got it easy. That shit ain't easy.
You raised your right hand, not knowing, you raised your right hand, not knowing if you were, you were willing to give your life. You raised your right hand, not knowing what was planned for you. And what, like maybe 3% of the population been willing to do that,
I think active duty sits around 3 to 3.5%. Total active duty, reserve, and veteran status is about 7% of our population. That's
Now-
ever served or still serving. Cadets, that counts everybody. People that are signed up and saying they're going to be going to MEPS, that's 7%.
Now, my thing for me, and so I'm asking, I'm in recovery. I'm 17 years sober. Me and alcohol, we don't have a good relationship, but yet, because I'm in recovery and I work a program and I'm with, a certain, recovery community. I know there's some people that they're California sober and some people are cool with it, but I work around old school guys that are just like, if anything that changes you from the neck up is a relapse, So I've had to endure chronic pain, stress and anxiety that will come on, sleepless nights. And, sure, the VA is willing to prescribe me a bunch of shit, that has a side effect that you'll need something else them to prescribe to counter the side effect. And it's just a never ending thing, and I had some issues where when I came home, I actually got TBI after I got home because of meds that they had me on that were counter indicative of the other one and lower my blood pressure. And I passed out in my bathroom and had to get 17 staples put in the back of my head, nothing like yours situation, but that's where I struggle when there's, I don't look, I'm not somebody that's looking to get high, I'm not looking to just whatever, but it'd be nice to have something that takes the edge off, helps deal with the pain, helps me get a good restful recovery type sleep,
This is what you're talking about is the exact reason I am personally getting myself peer support trained, and I am fighting and fundraising to get the veterans who feel called for the same type of training, because peer support and 12-step are two different things. And substance abuse recovery is a different thing for everybody. And we cannot sit here and say, you shouldn't use this or that. Can you control the substance? And I'm with you. I don't drink anymore. And for me, actually, cannabis guided me away from alcohol. And I see that time and time again in the community, where veterans come in and they're like, oh, I'm going to try a little cannabis because I heard it helps me sleep better and help with some pain. And they do. And the next thing you're like, oh, I don't want to drink anymore. I feel like shit in the morning. I smoke a little weed. I have a great night. I giggle. It's that same fun feeling, but I don't have the negative effects. And that's a beautiful thing. And what we got to make sure, though, is everybody, when you're prescribed cannabis or you get cannabis recreationally, we're just going to talk about the medicinal side. When you're recommended to have cannabis, most people know, oh, yeah, it's good for pain and sleep. But they don't actually sit down and talk with you about how cannabis can work with you. And that's kind of where I key in with the veteran community, is finding and identifying on how cannabis can work for them, making sure they're using it with a mindfulness. Getting high to get by is not the way. We need to use the medicine to heal. There are points in time in life where you can smoke weed and become disassociative and just unwind from everything and giggle at a movie for 2 hours. That's a real good benefit of cannabis. It allows you to disassociate. But if you disassociate every day and sit in your house and don't go out and integrate healthier lifestyle choices, it's as bad as the alcohol. It's as bad as anything else, right? So you have to ensure that you're using any of the medicine with the right intention. And you can't just, I always say, you can't just go Cheech and Chong every day.
Yeah.
Because you're probably not going to accomplish much. You need to identify the type of cannabis that works for you. Some of it makes you go to bed. Don't smoke that in the morning. There's stuff that makes you feel alive and alert. You have to identify and work with it.
I know back, like, before I got sober, like I my problem was, it's like, all right, I'm already not the most motivated person in the world, so then all of a sudden I'm stuck on the couch, eating cheese puffs and stuff, and I'm really not getting anything done when I was smoking. So that was my exposure back, in the day. So I was like, all right, I guess that's something I should avoid. And then, because now that I got all these years of sobriety, my ego and pride don't want to, lose that time I got. Now, I'm in my 50s, so it's like I don't look forward to birthdays as much anymore, but I look forward to my sobriety date, and I celebrate that. But I'll be damned if I can have something that's natural that can help me with this cortisol, stress that's in my gut, that's anxiety, this thing that happens in my head that sometimes I just need to chill and calm, and and it's all right that they'll say, oh, well, if a doctor prescribed it, it's all right, and then like I said, there's side effects and whatever. But if I can have something natural, that God provided, why would that cancel out my sobriety? So that's the battle that I get into. And I'm probably robbing myself of, being in a better place right now,
You're in a better place because you're on the journey that you need to take, but you have to come to the realization that this is medicine. You're not going out and just getting fucked up to get fucked up. Like, maybe there is a day where you do have such intense pain that you're going to use it to be able to sit down and enjoy it. But like I said, setting the intention. So I have a mindful cannabis class that I give, and it's all about setting your intentions with your medicine. If your intention is to sit on the couch, then that's your intention. Cool. Use the medicine to help with that. But if you got things to do today, I'm going to set this intention for this cannabis to allow me to work through some of my aches and pains, allow this arthritic pain in my back and my knees to be a little bit alleviated. I'm going to allow it to take the edge off of life, so I don't want to throat punch every stupid fucker that gets in my way and is just not up to my speed, which, we're type A people. We're high speed, but get her done. Not everybody's that way. And that's okay. And that's what cannabis allowed me to see, is it's okay that they're not like that. You're squared away. They're not. That's not your problem. Your problem is you stay in your lane and take that deep breath and look out at the sun and realize that it's, cannabis for me makes me see the colors better. It makes me appreciate the world better. It lets me and that's the intention I ask for it. Let me see the world through just a rosier set of glasses, because I'm old, I hurt, I'm a veteran, everybody's stupid, everybody moves slow, everybody's in my way, nobody's getting anything done. Just get out of the way and let me do it kind of attitude. Yeah. And it's not super healthy. And as a father, especially when my child was younger, I had zero ability to sit through them stupid cartoons. I'd go smoke a little, and I would say, I'm going to go have my medicine, Axel. And okay. She would say, my daddy's so much happier after he has his medicine. I'll come in, be able to get down on the ground without throwing my back out, like giggle with her, watch the stupid Dora the Explorer was the big thing when she was little. I couldn't. It would shoot me, Dora, and it would just get me. I'd come in with a little buzz, and I'd be like, oh, look, it's backpack. What do they got in there this time? Oh, a map, and
swiper, no swiping.
Yeah, swiper, no swiping. And then to touch on the alcohol thing, what about Ibogaine? People are using Ibogaine, which is a psychedelic, and it's not supposed to be a very fun experience either. It is a very work through some shit drug. But people are using Ibogaine and absolutely losing their want at all to drink or smoke cigarettes, it is just a full neuro shift in people. And It's a drug. But this drug is allowing people to stop drugs that are actually holding them back. So I guess it's the way you perceive things. And yeah, a lot of the AA or NA groups, once you go on their path, you can't deviate. But it's like, I'm not here because I had a problem with cannabis. I'm here because I had a problem with alcohol. And I also have a problem taking a lot of pharmaceuticals because of my alcohol problem. My liver can't take all those freaking pills. When I was 28 years old, I was on over 400 pills a month from the VA. I had my back surgery at 35 years old. I started really leaning into cannabis. I take a heartburn pill and an allergy pill now. That's it.
Wow.
And I use cannabis as medicine. And I, at times, will use microdosing of psilocybin because I really think that it is probably one of the most beneficial alternative therapies out there. Not hero dosing, simply microdosing mushrooms on a regular basis. The power of that medicine is absolutely incredible. If you want me to dig into that a little, we can too, because
well, yeah, I wanted to get into that because you mentioned, earlier, like, see, when you started seeing the world through different glasses, well, one thing that I struggle with, hey, I've been sober a long time, but my brain still operates the way my brain operates sometimes. And I could snowball into a bunch of negative thinking. The itty bitty shitty committee is like, my own Antifa's running around in my head with megaphones and shit like that, trying to, peacefully protest in my head, sometimes. And I've heard from other veteran friends, even like I know some SEALs that went and did something like an ayahuasca trip or whatever. Like they've gone on into some sort of psychedelic medicine that it's been like a deep rag or something, it like resets their thinking. So yeah, explain your experience with it.
So I had experience with psychedelics prior to using them as medicine. I'm going to say that first. Like I, again, at an early age was touched, and that was kind of why they want drugs illegal, because it opens up your mind. It makes you realize that we're more connected than ever, and there's just a lot of bullshit. It made me very clear of that. But I still joined the military knowing it was a broken system because I still had honor and wanted to serve. So that's where they're missing it. So with the psilocybin, though, psilocybin has a lot of benefits. Number one, they're putting people under fMRI imaging, under psilocybin, under the psychedelic experience. And it is restoring gray matter in the brain. Neurogenesis is happening. Neural pathways that have been closed and damaged for whatever reason are reconnected. That's what the medicine does. It heals brain tissue, and they're able to show it, and it opens new neural pathways. When you're experiencing a microdose, you're not in any psychedelic state. You shouldn't actually feel anything other than less reactionary, less anxiety, more like a dosed pharmaceutical, right? If you take a Xanax and you're used to taking your Xanax, it just makes all those weird shifts in your brain in the little committee. What did you call it? The shitty little committee in your brain.
Yeah.
It stops them. For a lot of people whose brains race, and just so much stuff goes through your brain, and you feel like I just spun my wheels. When the psilocybin hits a lot of people, and it allows them to just calm the train down. You're able to work through things. It really can just change the way you think. You do have to integrate, though. So that's the next step of green healing. Is without the integration, the medicine is not going to work. You have to realize what you want, set your intentions, and then work through it. Because what that's doing is repeating things makes it a habit. When you start doing those things with psilocybin, it's actually going to open back up the neural pathway. And that can be something as simply as, I'm not going to be as reactionary today and go off the handle and be short fused at people. It makes it easier. I don't know how better to explain it. It just makes it all jive, and it puts you in a stasis where you just feel good. Now, when you come to the larger doses, and like you're saying, like ayahuasca trips or ibogaine trips, or what they call a hero dose, anything over a microdose of mushrooms, you can really dig into different things. The mind slows down. It allows you to see things that you didn't really understand, or identify things in your past and just see things, and things will come up. And when you're closing your eyes and you're thinking about, things will come up, and you want to journal and kind of write it down and have somebody there who understands it, who you can talk with, and they can take notes that way in case you forget some of the things, because you don't really know what your experience is and what broke you per se. What changed in your brain? Why did CJ become such an asshole that he yelled at his daughter when she was young about putting the spoon where the fork goes? And now she's permanently scarred from it. Because we've had the conversation. She's like, you were so mean about that. I'm like, I don't even remember that. And it was this reactionary thing where when something's not done right, I drill sergeant.
Yeah.
Get in line, private. The world doesn't need that. But how do I change that? And why did I become so much of that? Well, for me, it was because I was picked on as a kid. And coming back from service back to my small town, I puffed my chest up. I'm like, oh, fucking drill sergeant, these guys. No one's going to push me around anymore. I'm not little CJ. I'm a badass. The military made me a badass, and I can just fucking I'll bark orders. I'll be more high speed, more gun ho than any of you motherfuckers. And when I get in your face and tell you, you're going to be scared, I don't care if you're bigger than me, because I'm going to get up and fucking just give you that all. Took me over 15 years with my child before I started changing that mindset. My child's 17 now. I drill sergeant a kid for 15 years of their life. And I didn't realize what was wrong with me. I knew I was an asshole, and I would say, yeah, I'm an asshole. That's okay. I embrace it. And I still embrace the fact that I can be an asshole when it's needed. But I started doing cognitive behavioral therapy, and she picked at me and asked questions. Why this? Why that? Asking about childhood shit, and it didn't really dawn on me. And then I ate about 3.5 grams of mushrooms. And I realized that I was just trying to not be picked on anymore. And I realized that, dude, you're fucking 40. Nobody picks on you anymore. You don't have to act like that.
Yeah.
If the time and place comes where you need to be that assertive because your life is in danger, or your friend's life is in danger, or your child's life's in danger, then get like that. Get as high speed as you can be. Use all that training to puff your chest up and run into the firefight. But you don't need it every day.
Yeah.
And it broke me because I'd have those asshole breaks. Then I'd just get on myself. Oh, you're so fucking mean, and ruining relationships, ruining jobs. And like how many jobs I lost because I was written up for bad tone. And finally, you got bad tone. Well, fuck you. Fuck my tone. Fuck, eat my asshole with the spoon. I'm out of here. I have fucking time for you people. Tone police bullshit. There's something to it. I had to realize, and it took that medicine. It took me having that, what they call it, ego death maybe, or like a realization, looking at yourself from another side. And then the movie In Waves of War came out, and that movie's all about, I'm terrible with names. He was a SEAL, and they all went and did their ibogaine trip. And he talks about his ibogaine trip in this movie. He kept seeing himself in the mirror, and the mirror would shatter, and then he'd see himself again, and the mirror would shatter. And it was him, his anger, and he had to figure out where his anger came from. And his was the same thing. It wasn't from all the combat missions, 150 plus combat missions that really made him such an angry person, where the anger was fucking his life up. It was from being a kid, having a rough upbringing. we don't have to, our trauma might not come from the military, and everybody's got some shit, you know, and it continues to happen. We have to figure out where it is. The military definitely compounds everybody's shit. If you had some to start, like, it's going to make it worse because you never dealt with it. We're told, suck it up and drive on. Don't, you know, you just go, it's okay. No, suck it up and drive on and get the mission done. But when the mission's done, unpack that shit. And we got to unpack all the way back and until we weren't broken. You're not born in this world broken. You're not born in this world with PTSD. Something in your life happens, and it can happen at early ages, happens at different ages for everybody. And there's different experiences through everybody. Life is a roller coaster. And even after you have an experience with ibogaine or ayahuasca or psilocybin, life ain't over yet. You might have to re-experience these things because trauma continues.
Yeah.
And the idea of Operation Grain Healing's peer support and integration is long-term. Build the community, have the people trained, keep educating, keep integrating healthier life choices. When you think you got it all made, your kid graduates high school and you're an empty nester and you're over here going, what the fuck am I going to do with the next step in my life? I had it all figured out when I had to take care of them. They're going to go to college and going to get married soon. And I don't know what I'm going to fucking do. I'm at a point right now where I'm having, my sleep is erratic and I'm like, I'm in a good space. I'm not depressed, but life always does different things. And it turns on that shitty committee. You know, what's next? Are you just going to go die alone? You know, whatever people might think about, or, you know, a kid going to college, a passing, changing relationship, changing and jobs, all these things incite all the bad shit that we dealt with before. And all of it just comes back like a fucking avalanche on you. So we have to just keep using community, keep leaning on one another and having these conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, man, I really connected with everything you were saying. Cause I remember, like, even when I got sober, you know, I was like what they call a dry drunk. And I was still doing that. Like, you know, I have 2 daughters as well, you know, and I was trying to boot camp them, you know, and put, like, you know, that trauma you talk about that we find out that we experience as kids, we're passing it on, you know, not intentionally, but, you know, it wasn't until I started actually, like, working with, I did some hypnotherapy, and it took me back to some, like, you know, stuff that I had compartmentalized and in my subconscious. And, you know, it was great to discover that, because then I know, okay, this is what I need to work on. This is where I need to heal. You know, both of my daughters are in therapy now, you know, and it's, we talk about things, and it's just like, I own where I, you know, contributed and make my amends. But, yeah, that whole, like, resetting the, you know, like, so when you said you're doing the psychedelics and you have somebody there journaling, like writing down stuff for you so you can go back over it and work on that. These are other veterans, or who are you working with when you do that?
So the goal is, as we build our community, our team members that are trained will be psychedelic integration coach certified. And that is a person who sits with somebody while they're undergoing psychedelics. And this is not a paid thing. This is volunteers. We don't give anybody medicine too. Let me make that clear. Don't want anybody calling me, hey, give me mushroom. No, I don't do that. Figure it out on your own. People are figuring it out on their own all over. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing with the integration part, because people are finding the medicine. What happens when they have the experience? How do they heal from it? How do we guide them through it? If they want the experience and they come out and be like, man, I got mushrooms, I want to take them, but I'm scared. Okay, well, we'll sit with you and we'll help you through it. Because you might not be able to. There are times when you take a larger dose of psychedelics where you're like, you're looking, you see the pen, you see the paper, you're like, I just can't write down things right now.
Yeah.
It's too hard. And it is, but you can speak them.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure you remember them, because there are those little things that come out. And when I say alternative therapies, things like cannabis and psilocybin mushrooms are really good tools. Cannabis in particular, opening up the mind to these things. Hypnotherapy is an alternative therapy, though, and it works. Cognitive behavioral therapy works. People are scared of it. You have to do work with all of it.
Yeah.
I think things like cannabis and mushrooms make you more open to wanting to do the work. That don't mean you have to use these medicines, because you can get in deep meditative states simply by doing breath work. You can have almost psychedelic like experiences by opening your mind and going into a sound bath and doing sound healing. Those are other alternative therapies, and those are other things we push. If you combine some of those things with something like cannabis and the intentions with it, it can unlock it a lot easier. And I'm not knocking anybody, but a lot of us veterans are super hard-headed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to hypnotherapy. You're not going to get me to sit down with sound bath. But if I can give them a little cannabis first, they'll be like, oh, maybe a sound bath sounds cool. You know, like it really, it does. It takes that edge off of life. And if we can take the edge off of life and relax for a minute, we can start to heal.
I knew a veteran that was treating his PTSD with ketamine. But the problem was, you know, originally he worked with somebody, but then afterwards he started self-medicating with ketamine and went off the deep end, you know,
Exactly.
went into a very bad place. And that's why community is so important and staying connected and going in with intentions, like you said.
There has to be therapy with any of these, in particular, ketamine, MDMA, ayahuasca, ibogaine, psilocybin. Even cannabis doesn't need the therapy as much, but you need to make sure you're setting intentions. Any of the psychedelics, you have to do integration. If you are not doing integration with somebody's integration coaching or a therapist, and you should probably do both, you're doing it wrong. And there are so many organizations and places out there that will take your money and send you on an ayahuasca retreat and tell you you're healed. Bullshit. You have to figure out, why were you broken? How do I integrate these healthier lifestyles, and how do I stay on it? And the other big thing, like I said in the beginning, and part of the trainings we're getting is harm reduction training. What does that mean? How do these different chemicals play together? You don't just, I mean, I know we were forever eating mushrooms and going to concerts and having fun, and people, that's what they were doing forever. We're lucky that more people haven't had bad experiences, because alcohol and psilocybin doesn't really play very well together inside the body. Now we're talking at veterans community and mental health. God doggone it. The SSRIs, serotonin drugs, and psilocybin. Please, people, do not mix them. You can get serotonin dumps and you can die. That is real talk. This stuff's, it is very less dangerous than a lot of pharmaceuticals if you do things right. So we have to be able to talk to veterans and tell them, hey, man, what kind of medicine are you on? And be able to have that conversation with them. Because again, I'm going to say, even with the ketamine-assisted therapy at the VA and the MDMA-assisted therapy that the few VA clinics are doing and medical places are doing, more people than not are going to get this medicine and try to take it on their own, because you can go right on the interwebs and find these things and get them sent to your door. How do you do it safe? Nobody tells anybody about the safe side of things. And without doing it safe, don't. You should get, if you're getting stuff off the street, you should get it tested. So test kits are another thing we go out for. Even your mushrooms, yes. We hear this fentanyl shit. Yeah, there are people that put that shit on stuff because the drug addicts want to get higher when they take stuff. We're not drug addicts. We're trying to heal. This is why rescheduling needs to happen. This is why the government needs to step in and say, yes, this is medicine. Reclassify it, educate, and give people the opportunity. And by the opportunity, I mean, some people might want to do ketamine in a clinical environment. I've talked to people who have experienced psychedelics in clinical environments. It's not for everybody. I'm going to tell you right now, no chance in hell am I going to go eat 5 grams of mushrooms in a fucking hospital environment. All white walls, super sterile, bright lights. Not for me, no thank you. I want to be in a place that looks like my room. I want cloth on the wall and plants and colors and pictures. Dim the lights. put on the music that I enjoy, sit in a place that feels comfortable for me. So that's where psychedelics need to be had. A lot of people are going to get more healing at home. So we need to be able to go in and bring them to where they're comfortable and meet them at their level and make sure they're doing the medicine safely. And that's really the big goal of what we're doing is getting veterans trained in how to do that. And if you don't want to do that, cool, just come be part of the community, because there are the veterans there that you can have those conversations with. If you don't use any of the alternative therapies, cool, still come to our community. We're doing painting events, camping events. We're all over the place. The whole goal is to put community events together, bring veterans out, because we have to break that isolation we all have by having community events. Some of the, anything from a hike, get out, go find another group of veterans. I will say this though, when we bring a group of veterans out, alcohol does this to it. It gets the lips flowing, right? You start, everybody sitting in a room. It takes them a while. So if you can't use alternative therapies or alcohol, let's go have a meal together, because you put people together in a circle and you feed them food. By the end of it, they're going to be chatting. That's it. We need to just come together, find all the resources we can, make people as aware as possible about all these different resources. I know the reason I met you is from John from Save 22. Another great veterans resource out in the Ohio area. They're doing hikes. They're doing events, simply trying to break the isolation. Let's get together. Let's get together in places like this. We have a Discord community. Get together digitally every night. We sit around, we all bullshit about the end of our day, have a smoke, and everybody goes about their business. 15, 20 minutes bullshit with veterans. It's a good place to be. And then we talk about the next event. We all have something to look forward to. If you have something to look forward to, there's a good chance if you're feeling down tomorrow, you say, oh, well, you know, at 8 o'clock, everybody's going to get online. If I can just get till 8 o'clock, talk about my shit, and maybe I'll feel a little better. That's the goal I want. Just, man, I'm tired of seeing that. If I didn't know them, it doesn't matter. I'm tired of seeing news stories of veterans taking their own lives. It's fucking tragic, man. We were able to go do the most high-speed shit in the world at one point in our lives. And then all of a sudden going to the grocery store gives us fucking panic attacks. That's weird, right? Like, it happened to me. I didn't go to Cannabis. I was in the grocery store the other day. Thank fucking Christ, I had my service dog with me. The guy pushed his cart too close to me. There was another like backup at the register behind me. So this extra ladies were trying to figure it out. And I'm just closed in. I'm like, I took my medicine before though. And I said to myself, don't freak out. Like, I was ready just to run out of there. My credit card wasn't working. She started talking. The tinnitus kicked in. I couldn't hear what she was saying. And I started just sweating, just pouring down. I'm like, I'm having a fucking panic attack. Excuse me, sir. Can you back your card up? Ma'am, can you please give me a little bit of space? I'm a veteran. I'm having a panic attack. Y'all got me closed in. You know what everybody did? They gave me space. I was 10 years ago, I would have pushed that cart. I would have left all my groceries sitting on the fucking thing. And I'd be like, I'm the fuck out of here. You guys are fucking driving me nuts. And I would have wandered off, hollering and grumbling under my breath out the door. Because I smoked a little bit of weed and said, dude, this weed will keep you calm. When I felt it, I reminded myself, you can get through it. And by microdosing mushrooms regularly and retraining that neural pathway, I changed the way that event would have looked 5 years ago. I would have had to go back and dealt with the crowds again. It's not easy. I don't like stores. I don't like people.
You know, you're reminded me too. It's just like I can still be an asshole in those situations to people, and I don't even think that you know, like I'll be with family member or something, and you know, something doesn't go my way with the cashier, and then all of a sudden I'm an asshole, you know, and my family's looking at me like embarrassed. They're like, what's wrong with this fucking guy? But I didn't even like realize what you're saying. It's like, well, this person's up too close to me. I'm not clearly thinking that this is all right, you know, and what's triggering it. And that's where that could benefit me, you know, when I know I'm about to go into like a stressful situation. Like, I love music. I love going to concerts, but there's times where I just you know, I got to be back against the wall, you know, and I'm trying to smile and put on a good face because I'm around friends or whatever. But it's just like, dude, my heart's about to beat out of my chest and people don't even realize, you know? And
yeah. And it took time, but I'm telling you, by focusing on that, when I had a bigger experience, and then when I take my microdoses, I remind myself, hey, you're going to do this. The neural pathways have changed. I wanted to change for so long. I lost my last relationship, and she's like, why don't you change? Why don't you change? I'm like, I'm trying.
mm-hmm.
It doesn't just happen. You have to do work. But how can we make it easier to do that work? Because it's some hard work to do.
Yeah.
Your neuro pathways, you closed the ones that said calm down 20 years ago, and they haven't been opened in 20 years. Those fucking hinges are so rusty. I'm a maintenance guy. I always refer things like maintenance and working on cars. They're so rusty. You're going to have to get the penetrating lube, put a fucking torch on it, hammer it a couple times. They're not just going to open. They're trauma closed. They're broken. We found a way to go about it. And you know, it sounds a lot like me, where we just use the anger, you know, and
because because we're men and we can't show fear. So what's our defense? You know, anger. You know, even though I'm fucking afraid, you know, and I don't want to admit something's scaring me right now, so I'm just gonna act out in anger. You know, it's my defense mechanism.
Yeah, never scared. My cognitive behavioral therapist. What emotions do you have? I'm happy or I'm angry. Like, bullshit. I'm like, no, that's real. No, it wasn't. She gave me like this chart of emotions, and I'm like, this woman's fucking stupid. Like, what are you? A chart of emotions? You want me to pick different ways to say mad?
Yeah.
Well, it took me sitting there and going out on a limb with some psilocybin in my brain and being like, well, let's think about this. Let's really, are there more emotions? And why are you only happy and angry? I'm happy and angry. Well, number one, I never learned how to deal with my sadness, right? I never cried when grandma died. I never cried when friends died. I compartmentalized it, threw that shit in the back of the vault, locked the key, and sunk that shit at the deepest fucking part of the ocean in the Mariana Trench. I never learned how to deal with fear. I'm not scared. You can't be scared. We're in the army. We're going to go to a war if it means it, and we're not going to be scared. I'm not going to feel like I'm not, just all the things. You can only be this way. You can't, as you said, you're a man. I'm a man from a military family. I'm a veteran. I work job sites and construction. I'm a tradesman my whole life. I was trained by the old guys that all yelled at you and were hard as shit, the greatest generation ever, them old codgers. It is good to have that mindset where you are an ass kicker. But if you don't go unpack the shit when you're done kicking ass, you're not an ass kicker anymore. You're broken.
Yeah.
And you're just going to, like you said, your family's looking at you embarrassed, and you're over like, what are you so embarrassed for? I don't even know what I did wrong. Man, the psychedelics, the psilocybin opened my eyes. It made me look back at some of those times and see them from that other person's view. Some people deserve those tongue lashings.
Yeah.
Most don't.
Yeah.
And even the people that do,
especially our kids.
I now look at it like, how bad does your life suck where that's how you act, huh? You're that fucking stupid. I don't even need to say anything, like the world's done you in on your own. And just to have that mindset, it's freeing. It is so freeing. And I'm still not fully healed. I get pissed about stupid shit and I still have problems, but I'm in a better place now than I was a year ago. And I really think it's because I started integrating the healing and I really pushed myself. I started microdosing more regularly, which I didn't think it would help, and it does. It really, really does help continue to open those neural pathways and keep them flowing and keep that synergy alive. And you're not high at all. Like I said, if you take a microdose and you're feeling it like, oh shit, I'm feeling the walls are a little wavy or something. you're not microdosing then. You've taken too much. You need to scale it back. So that does mean if you start some medicine like that, you might not want to take it on a day where other things are going to come up, because you might need to be able to work through it and make sure you can dial that dose in, or just start so small that you're not sure, but you're never going to really go above like 0.25. It's a small, tiny dose of mushrooms. If you want to experience a full psychedelic experience, there is that too. But regularly taking the mushrooms, the psilocybin will, I think it's called a level of titration in your body, where it builds up and it will constantly be there. And those neural pathways are just going to start opening. That gray matter is going to start restoring itself. And when I say gray matter, for all you gun bunnies out there, your brains are full of it. If you've experienced head trauma, you fell on the back of your head. Every time we bump our head, every time we concuss ourselves, every time we're exposed to high shock waves, little bits of our brains get destroyed. We can fix it. There are signs now that psilocybin is giving neurogenesis in people with dementia and Alzheimer's. They're actually bringing memory back. So let's not wait. Let's keep pushing for the advocacy to explore this medicine at a highest level with scientists and doctors, and then keep taking it and letting our brains get looked at, because the images are showing something, and there truly is healing happening. And we talked about it before. The ayahuasca retreats and the ibogaine retreats are changing people's ability to process the information and changing the way they look at life for the better. Why make this illegal? Yes, let's regulate it. Let's look into it. Let's make sure everybody's doing things safe. But we need to not live in fear of these things, because things like ayahuasca and ibogaine, again, in cannabis, psilocybin, been used for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We just replaced them in the last 150 years and then forgot about them. They need to be brought back in, used where correct, and pharmaceuticals can't just go away. I'm not an advocate of getting rid of pharmaceuticals. There are so many people out there who need pharmaceuticals. That's how their mental health is going to stay where it is. But not everybody. Educate, advocate, and give people the option.
Amen. CJ, man, I'm glad we had this conversation. This is good stuff. I'll definitely be keeping in touch with you. Before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you a couple questions I normally ask some of my guests that I have on here. 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today.
First and foremost, my father, Carl Sr. I mean, holy crap. I can go on and on about him. My dad is my hero. Next. Heroes, people that made me the way I am. I'm going to say Walter Payton. I'm a Chicago kid. I grew up watching the 85 Bears. The guy would run up sand hills. His stories, and when you heard him speak, it was the speech of somebody who's a winner but wanted to bring everybody up with them. Finally, I'm going to reach back into my military time, and I haven't seen the man since I left Korea, but Sergeant First Class Jeffrey Rawls inspired me, motivated me, made me a better human, made me a better soldier. That's 3 people right there.
Nice. Yeah. Shout out, man. And then, favorite toy as a child.
I mean, probably my G.I. Joes. I still got a handful of them downstairs in a box.
Nice. And then, any message you have for our military brothers and sisters currently serving overseas?
I think you said it earlier. Document everything. Document, and don't be afraid of going after your benefits when you got out. Whether you got seriously hurt or not, take advantage of what they are giving you. Do not walk away leaving them anything on the table. They spend, on lowball average, $65,000 to train you, and they're going to spend less than $5 to reintegrate you into society. Places like Operation Green Healing and many other nonprofits are out there to help you with that. They will not tell you you get VA health care. They won't tell you so many things because they don't want you taking it. They don't want to spend the money on you. They want to go make more missiles to drop. Well, you ain't dropping no missiles without the people to operate that shit. Take charge of your life. And I just want to say, bless you all who are out there. Be safe. The minute we think wars are in, and there's another one started. So y'all got a hard mission out there, and I fucking appreciate the shit out of you. And like I tell the recruiters who are calling for my kid, when you're done with your time, give me a call. I'm here for you. Let's get you integrated back into society in a healthy manner and make sure we can deal with the trauma that you've incurred in life, not just from military, but from life itself, and unpack it and allow you to be the best you can be, especially when you come home to your family full time.
Awesome. And then for any people that were watching and new to hearing about, Operation Green Healing and want to check it out and support it, where would you send them?
www.operationgreenhealing.org. All our social media is Facebook, Instagram, Operation Green Healing. We have a Discord server. Check that out. It's open to veterans and non-veterans. We just want a community of people coming in and actively engaging one another. If you act like a turd, you'll be removed. We are going to make a private spot for veterans to just have those veteran to veteran conversations. But just check out Operation Green Healing. If you're in Northern Illinois next weekend, the 23rd, we have a veterans breakfast in Rockford, Illinois at Alpine View Restaurant. We'll be out in Colorado, Longmont, Colorado, first weekend of June 5th, 6th, and 7th at Dude Grows Cup. And then July 17th, 18th, and 19th, we'll be in Eau Claire, Wisconsin at Post 305 for our big fundraiser of the year, Picking on the Pond. 2 days of music, barbecue, bags, tournaments, community, fun. Just good times, man. That's what we all need. Come out and have some fun.
Awesome. CJ, thank you so much for your time, brother.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Listen up. Hold on to your seats. Grab your girls. Grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Balaam Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.